is Alan Glick. I'm the Assistant Director of Recreational Sports in charge of sport clubs. Our department has 4 or 5 assistant directors. There's an assistant director in charge of intramurals, myself for sport clubs. There's an assistant director for aquatics, and an assistant director for marketing, and fitness as well. It's another assistant director. So I'm in charge of the university's sport club program.
Okay, wow. Well, tell us about your experiences working with students here at Tech.
My experiences. Well, when I came to the university, I was working in the student activities department. So I worked over in the Squire Student Center for a long time, actually, 17, 18 years, working with student organizations that did a lot of the major programming on campus. So I was an advisor to the groups that did concerts, brought in speakers, films, like the major program boards on campus. And then about 11 years ago, I came over to Rec Sports to work with Sport Club program. So still advising groups, but in the context of sports instead of concerts and major entertainment, things like I did over there. The job is, interesting. I mean, really, every day is different when you're dealing with student organizations, and Sport Club's a pretty big program. And we have 29 clubs, about 1,700 students take part. There are about 170 officers combined in the 29 clubs, and those are the main students who we deal with here, the officers of the clubs. So there's always a lot of people kind of coming in and out of the office, and we try to help them figure out the university bureaucracy, how to get things done, how to spend their money legally. It gets a little complicated because all of our clubs are considered legally to be part of this department. So our clubs are, unfortunately for the clubs, they're kind of bound by the same rules and regulations that as a department we are. So our clubs, like, you're not allowed to have an off-campus checking account where you can just write a check, like some of the smaller clubs on campus can have a checking account if they want at the credit union. Our 29 clubs, including ice hockey, which Joel's involved with, all their money is kind of have to be maintained through the university, through accounts that we oversee. So our clubs are bound by the same kind of regulations that our department as a whole are bound by. So a lot of what we do is just teaching the club officers, if you want to spend your money, this is the paperwork you have to do, these are the rules that you have to go by, because if the rules aren't followed by a club, then as a staff, I get yelled at, and our accounts manager gets yelled at by the university, because they don't really see the sport club program as being 29 separate student organizations, but they kind of look at me as the sport club director, expecting that all of our clubs kind of know all the rules and policies to follow. So really, a lot of what we do, it's just a lot of advising the club officers about rules and regulations, but also helping clubs figure out, like if they're having a problem with someone on their team, it's all the administrative stuff, but then we also help clubs with all the actual competition kind of things. If there's someone on their team complaining about a lack of playing time, someone that's causing bad chemistry within the team, how do they deal with that? Or if they're having issues with tryouts and making cuts, or if they're having trouble, like the baseball team, finding a field because we don't have a baseball field for them. I mean, it's just like a million different things that come up here, like every day. Like every time an officer of a club comes in, it could be about a million different issues that they're having. Just a lot of different things. It's really, it could be so many different things. I mean, I could go through it, more examples if you wanted, but it's basically just all different, issues that clubs are having.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your interests growing up as a child, and tell us a little bit about your schooling, how you ended up in this position.
Okay.
Did you want to do this when you were...
No, not really. I mean, when I was in college, I was a speech communication major, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do, to be honest. I knew that there was something about, like, when I would travel, like, fly somewhere, like, to visit my sister at college when I was still in high school. And, like, I would go to the airport, back then, there was was no such thing as cell phones. Okay? They were just phones, you know, pay phones. And I would see these guys dressed up in three-piece suits or whatever, huddled around like the phone bank, where they were just like calling their company or whatever. And I knew I didn't want to do that. I mean, I looked at these guys and I was like, if I have to do that for a living, like, I'm probably going to kill myself. You know, to have to dress up and put on a shirt and tie and everything. So while I was in college, I got involved with the program board at my school, the group that like did concerts and boarded speakers and did films and things. And he was a director of the Student Center, and we started talking, and he was like, well, you know, you can kind of do what I'm doing for a living, like be director of a student union building, and you get a master's degree in that. So he got me in touch with the head of the higher ed program at the place that he got his PhD. And before I knew it, I was on my way to Ohio with an assistantship that would pay for my graduate school. And I ended up at Kent State for grad school. I got a master's in higher ed administration. And then basically I kind of jumped around some different universities working in student activities mainly. So I worked at 3 or 4 different universities in, again, programming, working with, you know, student program boards that were doing concerts and things. And then my wife and I moved here from a school in Connecticut. We were both working. We just decided we had had enough of bad winters and the high cost of living in New England. And we just wanted to get out of Connecticut. Before that, we were in Boston. And I found out about a job here in student activities that was back in 1990 when we moved here from Connecticut. So from 1990 until just 10 years ago, I was working in student activities over in Squires, like I said. And the person who was in this job, sport clubs, was about to leave this department. And over the years, I got to know a couple of the people in rec sports, just because I was really into sports and would see these people at like tech baseball games and basketball, whatever. So they actually called me and said, well, the sport club director is leaving, and you know, would you maybe be interested in moving over from student activities over to rec sports? And I was like, you know, I can have my stuff packed up by tomorrow. So we all talked to my director, and he was okay with that because he had some other things in mind over in student activities to do some restructuring and things. And I don't know, he was fine with me coming over to rec sports. So I just kind of moved my stuff, packed up, and moved from Squires over here, and have been here since 2000. So my background, some people in our department actually got their master's degrees in like health promotion or sports management, something really related to rec sports. I just kind of lucked out from being in tech for a long time and knowing people in this department, and they knew me, and I had the opportunity without having to go through a whole application and search and all, you know, interviews and all this stuff, where basically it was kind of like an internal move for me, and I was able to just kind of move from there, pack up in the course of a weekend. I moved my stuff here, you know, and just started working in rec sports back then, and I've been here, you know, ever since that move back in 1990 or 2000, actually. 2000, I lose track of the time. So I've been in tech for a long time, you know, I mean, and we'll probably be here literally forever, considering everything I own, except for this. It's maroon and orange, a little gray and a little black.
Yeah, we noticed.
Yeah. So we probably really will be here forever. I mean, it's like, you know, it's a great place to live. It's a great college.